How's it guys, Munash here, and today we finally have an account tour which has been long overdue because it has been about 11 months since I last made one. However, my roster has changed quite a lot since then, so I'm not going to go into too much detail like last year, talk about all the champs I ranked in the order I ranked them and why, because then it's going to be a 2-hour video, which I think is a bit overkill to say the least. So I'm going to try to sort of speed run through the less interesting stuff like stats and inventory, and then I'll show you the 1 to 5 stars very quickly before I get into the 6-star stuff. So right now I have a total of 920 heroes. About 11 months ago, I had 791. Base rating went from 2.3 million to 3.03 million. And prestige went from 12,921 to 15,810. Currently, I have 8 rank for 6 stars. This is what I see when I look at my profile, but what you'll see is first Surfer, and then Doom, then Hercules, followed by Negative, and Tiger as my 5th highest prestige champ. So, in terms of stats, right now I have 295 Alliance War MVPs, which is 43 more than I had 11 months ago. Almost 15k quests completed with 336,377 quest fights won. And PvP fights, only 69,426. And I say only because last year I had 69,238. So it's only gone up by 188 in 11 months, which is only 62 series. So I barely do arena more than once a week, and by once a week I mean 3 or 4 fights. And the only reason for that is just to leash from my teammates for those easy arena combat and perfect series milestones, which I don't even always do because I just can't be bothered sometimes. I mean, you know how much I despise arena. Okay, now let me just flash some titles really quick. I got a lot of them, although I don't really care about titles. I mean, they're just titles. Even the one legend run I did was more for the Weapon X and the tier 5 class than the actual title itself. Although I will admit it does look cooler with it than without it, but it's really more just decoration than recognition. Alright, now let's move on to the inventory, starting with catalysts, and I do have an abundance of pretty much everything except tier 6 basic and tier 3 alpha of course, but just need about one more of each for my next rank 4. But the real problem right now, or at least for me, is gold. I mean gold and then ISO. Like ever since July 4, the level of disproportion has just been absolutely absurd. Like when I compare the amount of cats I had and the amount of champs I want to rank, then I look at my gold and ISO, like it was quite depressing. It was just so obscure. So I have had to prioritize my rank ups and save a few million gold just in case I actually need to rank up somebody immediately, like for Alliance War purposes. I also have an abundance of potions and revives in the stash along with a few green boosts. But in terms of items, I mainly just want to show the Awakening gems for 6 stars. So I still have 3 generics. I remember using one on Archangel about a year ago, and then I used another one on Hyperion about a month ago, I think, maybe 2 months ago now. Oh, and I used one on Guardian on Cyber Weekend last year when I selected him as a 6 star. Then in terms of class gems, I have a skill and a science, which I don't know who I'll use on, but it's just nice to have for whenever I get a champ that actually needs Awakening. Alright, now let's actually move on to the champs, starting with the 1 stars. I'm just going to filter by 1 stars just to show you that I do have all of them, all 14 of them. I actually got Deadpool fairly recently from some offer. Was it during spring cleaning? Doubloons this year. Yeah, that's pretty much it there. Then we have the 2 stars, and there actually are quite a couple I do not have because there's a lot of 2 stars that are not available in the premium hero crystal. So yeah, I'm missing quite a couple, although today we did get a 2-star Guardian, which I was quite happy to see when I logged in this morning. You know I love my Guardian, so that's just a nice little trophy there. And now let's move on to the 3 stars, where I do have more than the 2 stars, since the new champs do eventually get added to the hero crystals. So the ones that I'm missing are the more like exclusive ones or the newer champs, such as the ones released this year. So there's still a couple I'm missing from 2022 and then Overseer from last year. Right now 4 stars is going to be fairly similar, maybe slightly less than the 3 stars. Yeah. Pretty much the same, mostly this year's champs, and some exclusives like Immortal Iron Fist, Deadpool, Vision, and Thanos. Alright, now the 5 stars, this is where things actually start to get a bit more useful, since I do actually use maybe 1 or 2 5 stars, maybe once a month. Like, it's quite rare that I actually use 5 stars for something serious these days. I think the last time I used one was Proxima, since I don't have a 6 star. Or at least I didn't have a 6 star, but now I do have a 6 star, although she's not awakened yet. But I just used her for an Eternity of Pain fight about 2 months ago. And it's not like I needed to, it was purely just for fun. There was no objective tied to using her. So yeah, my 6 star roster has just grown so much over the past year, maybe year and a half, that 5 stars are just not really that enticing for me to use anymore. Even the ones I don't have as 6 stars, such as Namor and Red Guardian, because they aren't like the most, essential champs to have. And a lot of my best 5 stars I do have as rank 3 or even rank 4 6 stars. Even Quake, who isn't available as a 6 star but is still one of the best champs in the game. I actually have not used Quake at all since the Grandmaster's Gauntlet last year, so I haven't Quaked in over a year. Well, unless you count the negative gameplay, but nah, I don't count that, but yeah, we'll get there. Let me not get ahead of myself. It's just funny how I went from the guy who used to pride himself on being able to Quake pretty much anything that can be Quaked. Like, I've literally had wars where I've Quaked 12 fights, to now I don't even want to use her. Like, by choice, I could have used her in maybe 1 or 2 wars over the past few seasons, but I'm just like, nah, there's just no need to. I've got other counters for this, the Quake is not really my cup of tea anymore. I think I've just overdone it to the extent where I just find it kind of boring now, and I would always want to avoid using her if I can. I'm not even sure if I can still Quake that effectively. I figured it's like riding a bike, but I guess we'll find out when I actually need to use her again, if that happens. But anyway, just looking at my maxed 5 stars, I'm seeing now that the only ones I don't have as 6 stars are Blade, Quake, Magic of course, since she's not available, and Black Widow Clairvoyant. Oh, and Captain Marvel I also don't have as a 6 star yet. But these are all relatively older champs. I mean, the last 5 star or the latest 5 star I maxed was Hercules, who's over a year old right now. I just feel like it's kind of a waste to use gold on 5 stars if I don't need to, considering how precious that resource is for me right now. In fact, I only have 4.5 million because I like to keep a small reserve in case I need to rank up any champ immediately, like for Alliance War or something. But if I just had more gold and maybe a bit more ISO, I would literally take up at least a dozen 6 stars to rank 3 right now. So finally, let's move on to the 6 stars, starting with the rank 4s. I actually have 8 of them right now. The first 7 are pretty obvious, but there is one that's sort of hiding in the corner, and that is Bishop. He was my 8th rank 4 6 star. I took him up a few days after July 4, mainly for defense. After my 7th, I just felt like I should do a defender since, my attack was pretty stacked and prestige was relatively high at the time. So Bishop was a good option because he's just one of those champs who stays relevant regardless of the tactic in Alliance War. And he's also got some pretty good offensive prowess. He is definitely not just a defender, can dish out some pretty beefy special 2s, when they crit at least. And he's got a fairly unique set of utility which can be quite handy for certain matchups. Like, he's clutched me so many fights in Battlegrounds, not just as a defender, like when they place a Kingpin, but make no mistake, it was primarily a defensive rank up. So let's go back a bit to my first rank 4, which was Guardian. Initially I thought I was gonna do Doom or Nick Fury, but nah, after Cyber Weekend last year, finally getting the 6 star Guardian, I just knew it just had to be him. And I'm so glad it was, because the amount of work this man has put in, especially in Alliance War, but pretty much any game mode you can think of, well, except for V.I.B.E.S. He has just been so reliable, so durable, very underrated set of utility if you ask me still. Still good without the SIG, can still perfect parry specials, but the block proficiency you get from it is huge, make no mistake. And the energy resist is also quite nice. And just that special 2 is probably still my favorite special 2 in the entire game. So yeah, love Guardian, easily still my favorite tech champ. Then the second rank 4 was Dr. Doom, who I just had to do because, he's Doom. He's probably the most well-rounded champ to take to rank 4. Like, he has everything: attack, defense, prestige, shines in pretty much every game mode. And offensively, it's just such a powerhouse with that super high crit resistance, just the tankiness you get from him. And the Doom cycle, the power control with really good buff control as well. The contest has just never been the same ever since he arrived. Then the third one, who I took up on the same day, this was after exploring Act 7 Chapter 4, was Nick Fury because I got a skill gem, so that was quite nice. So I was essentially forced to rank him up since he was pretty much my best option. And Nick Fury was the first 6-star I fell in love with. He was my favorite back in 2019 and 2020. He was my first rank 3 6-star. I took him up unawakened, and I did so much with him unawakened. It was actually insane. So when I finally dropped that skill awakening gem on him, I felt like I got a new weapon to play around with. And I have used him very extensively in pretty much every game mode, you know, Abyss, Act 6, Act 7, Alliance War, even Alliance Quest, and a bunch of Eternity or Summer of Pain stuff. In fact, I think I soloed every fight in Summer of Pain with him last year. Then the fourth one was Tigra, and I couldn't have gotten her at a better time because she was just destroying so many fights in Alliance War in such quick time, like it was ridiculous. Although to be honest, the SIG actually made a bigger difference than taking her up to rank 4 for me, because I did it on the same day. Having her at SIG 200 is massive, even at rank 3. Then you add another rank to that and she is just so godly. People were even starting to ban her against us, because we had a couple of rank 4 Tigers in DSVG. Then the fifth one, oh boy, the fifth one was of course Mr. Negative, and where do I even begin? Like, I could do a whole chapter for Mr. Negative in this video, but yeah, he is my favorite champ in the game right now. I just love using him, and I always have loved using him. You know, just the level of execution required, the play style, the way things come together, the evade mechanic, the animations, oh my gosh, the animations, dude. The visuals, the attention to detail. And there's so many different ways you can actually utilize him as well. It's not like he just has this one simple playstyle. The king of degen can dish it out, but he can also take it as well. It is a damaging debuff, so it can be purified, but no one's actually immune to it. And then there's the dark damage from the special 3. Ooh-wee, that has revolutionized my Path 5 Alliance War effectiveness. Ever since pre-season 34, I have not brought Negative to one war. Just one. And usually I'm taking like at least 4 fights with him. Even against champs you wouldn't really think it'd be ideal for, like, I don't know, Killmongers, Bishops, Penny Parkers. It's probably more about the node combinations than the actual champs themselves. And it's funny how I used to think I was good with Negative last year. I thought I was really good with Negative just 3 months ago. Nah. Well, I mean, compared to now, my gameplay has evolved so much just from using him so extensively over the past 2 months. And all this is without even considering the Valkyrie synergy. But yeah, like I said in the Abyss Havoc video, we all thought it was gonna be good before it came out just from reading the description. And when it came out and we actually got it tested, it kind of did live up to expectations. However, we never imagined it would actually be this powerful, because without the corner dexing, instead of just parrying to build up your light energy, you can only pause your debuffs for long enough to get maybe 2 or 3 times the duration or damage on your special 2. And even against high limber or even stun immunity, or even if you try dexing, you still weren't gonna get as much duration as if you're playing in the corner, just because of how the AI behaves and the spacing you get to actually dex quite frequently. And it's so much more consistent. Like, even with bad AI, you can still get more than what you'd get from, you know, just parrying. And with good AI, you can literally get 10 times the damage from one special 2. And the petrifies just seem to last forever. Like, they have a much longer duration, so they take pretty long to expire. But of course, it does have its limits, or Negative does have its weaknesses, such as evade counters and disorients. And I've only really found the synergy to be useful for larger health pools, you know, like Abyss, Labyrinth, maybe Realm. Maybe Act 8, maybe some Eternity of Pain or Gauntlet stuff. But for stuff like Alliance War, Act 7, he's pretty potent on his own, and that's where I mostly use him. But it has been fun just to play around with over the past few days. Alright, now moving on, this was just after the July 4 opening. I got my 6th rank 4, which was Sulfur Surfer, a complete prestige move. Although I was actually pretty happy to do it at the time, since I was very satisfied with my roster. And he's not bad at all. I mean, he's got some pretty decent utility for a Cosmic champ, and some pretty solid damage at rank 4. He's also kind of fun to play. Like, I definitely enjoy him more than Thor Ragnarok, even after the buff. Alright, so then my 7th rank 4, which I took up, I think maybe a day after Silver Surfer, was Hercules. So I took him up to 6200 as well on that day, and then I rank 4'd him, because I mean, he's quite similar to Doom in the sense that he's just so well-rounded. Maybe not as good for defense, slightly lower prestige, but offensively he is just an absolute monster. Like, he's almost a little bit too good when you look at that damage combined with that set of utility, which is actually relatively simple. Like, he's a fairly simple champ to play, pretty basic rotation, and his abilities aren't that complex. He's got the basic cosmic stuff like buffs for damage, but combined with the infuriate debuff, it just makes him so much more efficient. You know, the AI is just so much more aggressive, they play into your intercepts nicely, you don't have to waste as much time baiting specials. Special 1 True Sense is pretty nice for auto blockers and miss champs. Special 2 stun's got a pretty good duration, multiple sources of damage in terms of red numbers and actual crits. Works really well with suicides, but still solid without. And then the Sig ability is so strong, not just the combat power rate, but also the immortality just allows him to cheese or just get through so much stuff that he probably shouldn't be able to. So he might not be my favorite cosmic champ, although I do like him, but he has to be the best in my opinion. He's the type of champ that any account would benefit from having, even if you don't really need him. So yeah, Herc was the 7th, and I already spoke about the 8th, who was Bishop. Alright, now moving on to the rank 3s, and I'm not going to go into that much detail this time. I think this video is long enough already, so let's just speed run this. So first of all, we have Professor X and Thor Ragnarok both at Sig 200, and then from there we got Kitty Pryde at 120, Sorcerer and Falcon at 100, Spidey 99 is 60, Apoc is 80, then I have Yellow Jacket, Storm, Nebula and Warlock all at 660, and then the rest are all pretty much either 40, 20 or Unawakened. Then it's just Eye-Bomb and Hyperion at Sig 1. So in terms of Awakening gems, I used the Class gem on Nick Fury. I think that was my very first 6-star gem. And then a few months ago I used the Science on Eye-Bomb. Then about a year ago I used my first generic on Archangel. Then Cyber Weekend last year I used one on Guardian. And a little over a month ago I used another one on Hyperion. So those are the rank 3s. I have 44 of them, but I could easily have at least another 10. Cause check out my rank 2s. I don't have that many of them, but I wish I could take almost all of them to rank 3. Especially Hood, Voodoo, Mr. Fantastic, Hulkbuster, Crossbones, Cap, Doc Ock, Spidey, the other Spidey. Yeah, like almost all of them. And the rank 1s are even worse because I have so much more rank 1s. I mean, that's the vast majority of my 6-star roster. So I could easily name at least 15 rank 1s that I'd like to rank 3. And then the ones I'm missing, in total there are about 47 of them. A lot of them are from this year, but some of them are not even that new, like Venom, Rhino, Agent Venom, Ant-Man, Old Man Logan. These are pretty much all 2015 champs. But overall, I am very satisfied with my roster. Like, it's actually gotten to the extent where I don't even care if I get crap pulls anymore. Well, I mean, I do care, but it doesn't really affect me much when I get bad pulls. Like, I've opened a couple of featured 6-star crystals and I've not been getting anything good whatsoever, a lot of dupes that I already had. But I can actually laugh about it because I just see it as some sort of balance being restored, because the luck I've been having over the past year has just been so good. Like, if you were to go through the crystal opening playlist, it will actually take you a while to get to a bad one. I think ever since Cyber Weekend, they've all been pretty good. So honestly, I cannot complain, and I think that's gonna be it for this one. I am so glad this video isn't gonna be 40 minutes long like last year's one. But I hope you found it interesting, and as always, thank you for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.